I peeked through the door of my parents' room, and they were fast asleep. I quietly tiptoed downstairs. I took the keys and I carefully went out by the door and gently closed it. I got in the car and drove to the party. I was greeted by the host when I opened the door. "Glad you could make it," he said. As I walked into the party, I saw it. Drinks. Not just any drinks. Alcohol. I tried to ignore it because I wasn't of age to drink. I was only 16. I danced a little with my friend James, but I just couldn't resist. I took one drink, and then another, and another, and another. Soon enough, I've had too much, and it was only 12:09 a.m. "Oh, no. I have to go home." My voice slurred. James wasn't sober either, so I left and got in the car. I couldn't control the wheel. It was nighttime, so I already couldn't see. Other cars were honking at me, and then before I knew it, I slammed into a pole. Someone got out of their car and yelled, "Somebody call the paramedics!" I was drifting in and out of consciousness. Pretty soon, I just passed out. I woke up. I was on a gurney. My parents were right beside me, and they looked worried. My mom was holding my hand, not wanting to leave me for 1 second. I could tell that she had been crying. My head was on fire. It was throbbing. I started crying a little because of the pain. My body was still intact, but I was still hurting. They wheeled me into the ambulance. They hooked me up to the IVs and other things. My life was literally flashing before my eyes. By the time we got to the hospital, I was in serious distress. They wheeled me to the emergency room. The nurse gave me an injection to comfort me temporarily. The doctor looked me over and said that I had 3 broken ribs and a broken leg. I also had a concussion. The doctor also found that my liver was hemorrhaging, so I needed an emergency operation. While they were getting me ready, I was looking around for my parents. They were in the waiting room. I could hear my mom and dad sobbing. They were pushing me to the operation room before everything went black. When I woke up, I saw that my leg was in a cast and my head was too. My parents were on both sides of me along with an IV and a heart monitor. "The operation was a success," said the doctor. I was glad, but I kept thinking about what happened and how I was now worried of driving again. Just the thought of opening the car door frightened me. When we got home, I went upstairs to my room and rested. I got a text from James. He said that he found out what happened to me last night. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine and I just ended the text with that. But really, I wasn't fine. I was totally troubled. All I kept thinking about was that I could have been seriously injured. More than I already am, or worse. I could have not survived. My parents tried to get me to open up, but I just turned them off. I didn't want to talk. They asked me if I wanted to talk about what happened. I really didn't want to, but I don't think I had a choice. My parents talked about how I should be more responsible, and that I should have never went behind their backs and took the car without asking in the first place. I knew they were right, but I was just still scared and hurting. Pretty soon, their calm talking voice turned into them yelling at me and saying that I could have passed away. They grounded me for a month and took away my car privileges too. I sat on my bed thinking about the car accident. I was having nightmares about it and I couldn't sleep. I would wake up in a cold sweat. I just bursted into tears. My mom came in my room and sat next to me. "Mom, please make it go away," I said. She just rubbed my back and hugged me tight. When I went to school the next day, it seemed like everyone was staring at me. James came up to me and asked how I was doing and if I needed any help, but I just shrugged him off with an "I'm okay." James looked confused and hurt at the same time. Later at lunch, I just sat by myself, not wanting to talk to anyone, even if they were interested in what happened to me. After school, I told my parents that I would walk home, but they insisted on driving me home. I knew this was going to be a problem, but I didn't feel like thinking about it. But when my parents pulled up in the car, everything came flooding back to me of what had happened. "No!" I yelled. "I'm not getting in the car!" I saw my dad getting out of the car, so I decided to try to run. But since I had crutches, I didn't get far. But then my crutches lost a beat and fell down, leaving me to balance myself, which ended in me falling. My head knocked the ground and I started crying. I was in excruciating distress and embarrassment. My dad rushed over to me and placed his jacket under my head. He carried me to the car as James picked up my crutches. When I was in the car, James handed me my crutches. I thanked him in a soft-toned voice. As we pulled out of the parking lot, everyone looked at me. After making such a scene, I didn't know how I was ever going to be going to school again. As the weeks went on, I started getting more and more frustrated and unstable. I yelled at my parents and I started inflicting self-harm. My parents took me to a therapist who diagnosed me with PTSD. He gave me some medicine and therapy sessions to reduce the effects. Within 3 months, I started getting better. I was not worried to get into a car anymore, and I could even drive happily. It has made a huge impact on my life. I no longer have PTSD. Before, I couldn't even look at a car, but since I've been helped, all of that has changed. I feel a lot better than before.